Hey y'all, it's Jen, and today I am here with my March wrap-up. So in the month of March, I actually read 10 books. Of those 10, the majority of them are audiobooks. I did not have any 5-star books in the month of March. My first 4.5-star book is Talon by Julie Kagawa. This book is about a girl who is a dragon, and she has a twin brother who is also a dragon, but they are kind of in hiding. All of the dragons of the world are in hiding. And then the other main characters in this story are dragon hunters, and they are out to find and kill any dragons that they see. So in this story, 2 of the dragons are undercover, and they're learning how to assimilate into the real world. The dragon hunters find this information out, and they send some of their people undercover to seek these incognito dragons out and eventually kill them. My next 4.5-star book for this month was The Mothers by Britt Bennett. This book was actually kind of an unexpected surprise for me. I requested this book from my library back in January, and it just came available at mid-March, right before I went on spring break. So I was able to listen to this book, and it was completely different than what I expected. I'm not really sure what I expected, but it's more of a coming of age story, and it talks a lot about the opportunities and the choices that we make based on the opportunities that we have and our ambition and our goals. There are a lot of good and funny moments in this book, but there was also a lot of sadness and a lot of tragedy. This book kind of shows you what choices and what impact your choices have over time, and not just in that immediate future, and how it can affect more than one person. Your choices don't just affect you in that moment, but they affect not only you, but those people surrounding you throughout your life. I had several 4-star books this month. The first one is Between Shades of Grey by Ruta Sepetys. This book was really intriguing. I love World War II Nazi Germany stories, and this is kind of a story that I wasn't expecting to enjoy as much. You don't hear a lot about the tragedy that fell on the people of Lithuania under Stalin's rule during that same time frame. It was a very sad, very heart-wrenching, gut-wrenching story, just like all the stories from Nazi Germany are. And this was just kind of an extension of what was also going on in that time period, that little known history that's not talked about a lot. My next 4-star book was The School for Good and Evil by Soman Chinani. This is a cute little middle grade fantasy story that talks about really kind of where fairy tales come from. It also features 2 main female characters, one good, one evil, and I thought they did a really great job in contrasting the stereotypes of what's good and what's evil. That just because you're pretty and full of fashion and you pretend to do good things for people doesn't mean you're good, and just because you kind of keep to yourself and don't go out of your way to help people and maybe aren't the prettiest person in the town doesn't mean you're evil or bad. And I really enjoyed this story and the contrast that it showed. My next 4-star book was Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell, and I did not expect to enjoy this book as much as I did. This book gets mixed reviews. I am of an older generation, but I still have those fangirl moments. I love the different fandoms. I'm definitely a Potterhead. I went to see all of the midnight releases of the movies and took my children to them. We went to at least 2 midnight releases to pick up the actual Harry Potter books. For the final movie of the Harry Potter series, we dressed up. So we definitely are part of that fandom. And of course there are others. I love Divergent. I love Hunger Games. I love all of the fandoms that come with the Cassandra Clare books, the Shadowhunters. Definitely can see how someone could get so immersed in that world. I've never really been a big fan of fanfic, so I don't usually read fanfic, and I of course don't write fanfic, but I enjoyed those stories as well, those parts of this story as well. And I really loved how the love interest and the sisters relationship played out in this story. So my final 4-star book for this month was Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. I started out really not liking this book. As I said before, I'm a huge Harry Potter fan, and I just kept thinking the entire time and correlating Simon and Baz with Harry and Draco, and it took me a long time, about halfway through the book really, to really start seeing Simon and Baz as separate characters, and this is a separate story from Harry Potter and Harry and Draco. I did really end up enjoying this book a lot more than I expected to when I first started out listening to this one. I'm glad it turned out the way it did. I don't want to do any spoilers, but it was definitely worth a read. And even if you didn't enjoy the Simon and Baz parts of Fangirl, I think you will still enjoy Carry On if you just give it the chance. But it does take about 50% of the book for it to start really feeling like its own story and not pulling in that fanfic Harry and Draco feel to it. So my first 3.5-star book for this month was Shifting Gears by Riley Hart, and this is a continuation of the Crossroads series. It is a romance story featuring 2 male characters, and I just love this writing and the character development that Riley Hart does in this series. So this was book 2 of the Crossroads series. I only gave it a 3.5 stars because it's probably not real authentic in the real world, and not that fiction has to be, it's fiction after all, but if you're looking at authenticity of the characters and the story, this one really doesn't add up to that. It's a romance story between 2 male characters, but the writing was great. If I were to rate it on just pure enjoyment level of it, it would definitely be a 5-star book. My next 3.5-star book was Welcome Universe by Whitney Gardner, and this book features a deaf main character who has 2 moms, and she is half Indian, I believe it said, and she ends up getting kicked out of her school that is a school for the deaf and goes into a mainstream school instead. And this is her story about basically about the friendships through both of those schools, and also how she deals with pressures in life and stress through art and street art, graffiti. That is her main outlet. I wanted to like this book much more than I did. And without going too much into it, I'll just say that I was disappointed. I will have a full review on this one here later on, so be sure and check that out if you're interested. My next 3.5 star book for this month was Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. 3.5 stars for this one for me is probably pushing it. For this book, I can see how a lot of people would really love it. It's very character based, very character driven, and while I typically like character driven stories, this one just jumped around way too much for me. It jumps from not only character to character, but it also jumps around in time, and I found it hard to keep all of that straight, and I just didn't enjoy it. I didn't feel like I ever connected to any of the characters. I didn't feel like I ever connected to the story. And while the writing was beautiful and lyrical and fancy, it just wasn't my cup of tea. My final read for the month is my 3-star book, and that is An Indian in the Cupboard by Lynn Reed Banks. If I were younger, I probably would have liked this more. I probably would have given it a higher rating if I were, say, 10. But I just didn't really enjoy this story. I thought that it had a lot of problems. I thought it had a lot of stereotypes. Like I said, if I were younger, I probably wouldn't have caught a lot of that, and I probably would have liked this book a lot more, but it is only a 3-star book for me. That is it for my March wrap-up. If you read any of these stories, please leave your comments below. Let me know what you thought of them, if your thoughts differ from my thoughts on these books. If you are interested in reading any of these books, please also let me know that below. And as always, be sure to like and subscribe to see more content from me. Until next time, bye.